Biggest takeaway from the Bears offseason?
Yeah, I think that this is a major work in progress across all levels, right? You're talking about a refurbished front office. You're talking about a new coaching staff. You're talking about a roster that is very unfamiliar to most people that are used to seeing the team that was here during the Matt Nagy years. And so there's a lot of work for this team to do to become relevant again, to become competitive again. I think they're putting in all the necessary steps and the hard work to get there. But, man, it is a long road up that steep mountain that this team has to climb.
More than you thought when they made the change at GM and head coach?
I don't know if it's more than I thought. I think it's just staggering sometimes to go down the roster and just see the number of unproven guys, particularly on the tops of the depth chart, right? You're going to be relying on a lot of young players, guys that have to materialize into who they thought they were when either they drafted them or guys that they believe in that were already here. That's guys like Justin Fields, right, who obviously is going to be the linchpin of this whole thing. And here he is in his second season having to endure a major change, right? Uniting with a new coordinator, having new playmakers, not having a sturdy offensive line in front of him. This is going to be a major challenge for a young quarterback who everyone agrees is the guy that is going to determine how quickly this thing can get back on track.
Did you see growth, Dan, from Justin Fields during the offseason camp?
You see flashes, right? You see flashes that tell you, okay, right, that star potential that we all thought was there on draft night in 2021 is still there. Now it's all about consistency. Quarterback in this league is so darn hard, Lou. It's like you can be as talented as possible. You can work as hard as possible and still fail, right? A lot of talented, driven guys fail in this position because it's so difficult. And so Justin has to embrace that need to be consistent, right? The need to immerse himself in that quarterback lifestyle, which is really no days off from studying, from knowing the playbook, from knowing the nuances of routes and those things. And so the flashes are there. Now it has to become consistent, and it's going to have to eventually become consistent within games for people to believe that it's real.
I know guys aren't wearing pads, no one's hitting, but have they done enough for Fields to succeed with their offensive line and wide receiver?
I don't think so. To this point, I don't. And I think that's a handicap that this team is going to have to work around. And they're going to have to work around it without the defense that, say, Mitch Trubisky had at this stage of his career, right, where you had an elite defense and they could say, hey, kid, just don't screw this up and our defense will keep us in games. I think Justin's going to have to elevate those guys around him. He's going to have to elevate the play of his receivers by putting the ball where it needs to be. He's going to have to elevate the play of his offensive line by using his mobility and his speed and his quickness and doing all these things that take an offense to another level. The supporting cast, I don't think, is where anyone wants it to be, including the head coach and the general manager here, but it takes time to get those things in place, and right now you have to hope that the young quarterback takes the steps that he needs to take so that if you go into 2023, you can make some of those necessary upgrades and feel like it's still a staircase upwards, right?
Are you surprised Robert Quinn didn't show up?
A little, because Robert's a true pro, right? And I understand where he's at this stage of his career. He's a veteran. He knows how to take care of himself. He probably would like to see greener pastures somewhere at this stage of his career, somewhere where he can contend and continue to build on what he did last year. Remember, he sets the single-season franchise record for sacks last year, right? So he's got momentum there. I figured he would probably come to this portion of the offseason, so to not be here and obviously endure the penalties that he will do for that, both financially and whatever the coaching staff decides. A little surprising. It's going to be obviously a storyline when we come to training camp. Is Robert Quinn going to be here? When's the next time we see him? Is he a part of this team's plans into September, October, November? Where's the exit door for Robert Quinn on his time as a Chicago Bear?
Yeah, is a trade inevitable or a release?
Well, you need a trade partner, right? And so I think at some point you're waiting to see if a contending team somewhere else in the league has a need that matches what you can offer and then offers you the compensation that suits you, right? I think Robert can be a great mentor to guys here in this building like Travis Gibson, Dominique Robinson, two young pass rushers that will benefit from being around him. If that day comes and we get closer to the trade deadline and the Bears say, hey, let's get something in return, and there's somebody that wants to offer, no surprise if that happens. But again, it takes two to tango, and we'll see if that type of deal materializes up the road.
What's impressed you most about Matt Eberflus so far?
I think he knows what he wants, and I think he articulates what he wants, right? And I think this team understands right now, and Matt has pounded it home from the day he took the job with the HITS principle and the acronym there, and just saying repeatedly, we are going to be an effort-based football team. We are going to grade effort every day. We are going to review effort on film after every practice. I think setting that standard is very important at the early stages, and now he's got to build that into training camp. He told us, obviously, look, he's told the players, get your track shoes ready, and what he means by that is we are going to practice at a certain tempo in training camp that is necessary to become a more competitive football team. And so you better not be surprised when we're calling you out for not hustling on a play or not doing what you're supposed to do to finish a rep. And so we'll see where it goes from here, but I think he's done a good job of establishing very firmly for every single player in that locker room what it needs to look like and saying, hey, we're not going to waver from that.
I know you and Big Z and the other guys take that schedule, and even though it's a silly exercise, it's what fans want to know. How many wins is this team going to put together? Where are you today? Where were you back then?
I feel like I'm still on the 5-6 fence, right? And it's just when you look around the league and you see what winning football teams in this league look like, and then you compare it with the roster the Bears currently have assembled, you say it's an uphill climb, and it's a steep climb. Schedule seems easier this year than it was last year. Maybe they can find a hot streak somewhere in there and surprise some people. I don't think anyone sees us as a playoff team anywhere around the league. And again, we go back to that Justin Fields conversation, which is how quickly can he ascend? And if he can ascend quicker than we think, well, now all of a sudden you can change those projections. But for now, it's a see it to believe it proposition. As you know, with this team, it should always be a see it to believe it proposition. We go back to the 80s for the last time they had 3 consecutive winning seasons. Wrap your brain around that.
Wow. My final question, what are you going to do the next 5-6 weeks?
Nothing related to football, right? Like a lot of golf, hang out with the family, try to get some downtime, try to catch your breath. It feels like it's closer than it normally is. I mean, I think we have 4 full weeks, right? And then parts of 2 others before we're right back here at Halas Hall reporting to training camp. And so get as much downtime as possible because away we go, you know.